Hi, I'm Christian, and I will be discussing Alaska Natives' mobility and how its sustainability compares to that of modern sedentary systems. I'll also be comparing traditional mobility and modern mobility. This is a topic I found myself reflecting on pretty consistently throughout this course, and this project allowed me an opportunity to dedicate some research into the topic. So, very excited to be sharing this. Um, So, in the United States today, and in many developed countries, we are dependent on sedentary systems for resources. Alternatively, Alaska Natives depended upon mobile systems. These mobile systems had been sustained for tens of thousands of years, and as modern knowledge and understanding of these systems and histories grow, so does our realization that traditional systems appear to have been vastly more stable than our systems today. Um, Pictured here on the left is a heat map of where we generally commercial fish around the world. The brighter the color, the more extraction happens in those locations. On the right is a depiction of an Aleutic summer settlement. These were temporary and moved depending on resource availability. I felt this comparison depicts a bit of how different the modern system for resource extraction looks. On the left, we can see some serious hotspots that stay relatively stationary throughout the years. While on the left, we see resource gathering that has a smaller, more mobile footprint. Um, so, kind of digging into this difference and what that means is the intention of my reflection. Pictured here are the seasons from the perspective of Gwich'in peoples. The different layers of the circles depict the seasons, environmental phenomena, resource gathering in those seasons, and then how they align with our current months. This highlights how embedded environmental seasonalism is in the way that Gwich'in peoples operate throughout the year. Built around this perspective and understanding of the environment is an adaptive decision-making system. This is the backbone of efficiency and resource gathering in both hunting and foraging. Movement wasn't random, is the main message of this. Movement was proactive, it was systematic, and consistently adapted to meet resources where they were. Without this larger system of knowledge, movement isn't inherently sustainable, and that's a message that I kind of want to impress throughout this presentation. Tech, or traditional ecological knowledge, is this larger system. Pictured here is a traditional Aleutic dance display. As we've discussed in depth in class, this was a primary mode of passing down information. This and many other modes of transfer were key to this system. Tech incorporates intergenerational knowledge that is feedback driven and hinges on adaptability. Together, these characteristics lead to more efficiency, uh, more precise decision making over time. It's similar to our scientific process, actually. Each generation of scientists builds off of previous generations' body of research, leading to more and more breakthroughs and more questions. Tech functions in very much the same way. It constantly grows, improves, and refines, all in relation to the environment and observable information, as well as experiential learning. This should look familiar. Walrus tusks were traditionally used by northern Alaska Native tribes to create art pieces called scrimshaw. I believe we discussed this kind of early on in our semester. These art pieces told stories and survived as documentation. Many stories in Alaska Native cultures are embedded with knowledge and life lessons. This is one of the ways that tech was passed down intergenerationally. Alaska Natives viewed the universe as interconnected as an interconnected unit, all systems impacting each other. In this belief system, humans have an integral part in the ecosystem and are active participants in the natural world. Knowledge of how to behave, survive, and aid the systems of the universe was accrued experientially through direct participation in environmental systems and is recorded in ways such as this and the picture before in order to ensure that this knowledge was passed down and then subsequently built on or built upon. We see examples of this in hunting. The belief of the interconnected universe fostered a belief that hunted animals and humans are equal participants in the environment. Animals give themselves to a hunter on the basis of mutual respect, and this balance fosters constraint. Respect dictates that one does not take more than what is needed. And with this ingrained belief, external regulation becomes fairly unnecessary, as beliefs drive an internalized form of regulation at an individual level. And this is kind of another topic that I really want to emphasize is the fact that a lot of Alaska Native belief systems ingrained this natural regulation. So, what changed and why did we change to more sedentary systems? Um, the answer is really quite simple. Human populations grew to large sizes, and resource scarcity in relation to the size of populations caused resource conflict. In order to sustain population concentration, we began stabilizing our resources. We created sedentary systems in order to support larger populations that became too large and too ingrained to be very mobile. This dynamic, though, encouraged over-extraction. This created an isolated feedback loop. The more resource pressure there was, the more systems we built to improve sedentary resource extraction systems. So this was kind of a negative, or really a positive feedback loop with a negative impact on the environment. But if that's what is necessary to support high population density, then is that change a good thing or a bad thing? If we don't really look too far into the future, then it could be seen as a decent thing. This mode of operation allows for large-scale population survival today and allows us to choose where we go or if we simply stay in one place. We also get to be very flexible on when we go and how we go. The issues come in when we look into the future. Because these systems are isolated from the natural world, our mode of gathering is currently extraction with no return. And that process can really only last for so long. You can only take so much before there's nothing left to take. Pictured here is a example of this isolation. This is a picture of Haiti, of the border of Haiti, taken by NASA via satellite imagery. This reflects how removed the modern way of life is from the nature around it. The natural world and modern resource extraction don't communicate. Because of this, we lose feedback from the environment. And large-scale infrastructure means we can't really adapt without large-scale effort. So the cycle continues while we remain blind to our environmental impact. Uh, Contradictory, or alternatively though, Alaskan Native cultures, because of the way that they were bringing information, they had this high amount of adaptability. Their systems didn't require these large-scale interventions because their infrastructure was designed for mobility. Myself and many others have rejected sedentary ways of life in favor of living nomadically and seasonally. Myself, I've lived in out of a van for about 6 years, and I've worked seasonally for about half of that time, maybe a little bit more. Um, and this does afford some fantastic benefits. Month-to-month life is much cheaper, the carbon footprint is smaller, resource extraction is slower and less consuming. However, this modern version of mobility still depends on sedentary infrastructure. In addition, tech was a very communally focused belief system. Mobile communities foster deep relationships with each other and with the land. Modern nomad life, however, is highly isolated communally, and seasonal work is as well. We may have consistent seasonal friends, but we don't move together. We don't have deep communal roots or a deep ecologically focused understanding of the places we spend our time. And oftentimes we move in direct contradiction to the natural world around us. For example, I've been working down south for summers and up north in the winters just for the types of work that I want to do. We move not for resources, but for economical and comfort reasons. Our feedback loop is still broken. I don't get information from the environment to help me decide on where I'm going or where my footprint's going to be less or where there's more or less resources. I move based on freedom of will entirely at an individualistic level without many communal roots. Pictured here on the left is an image, or sorry, pictured here on the right is an image showing the locations of fuel stations across the contiguous United States. This is just one example of how much infrastructure is still necessary to support my lifestyle. Now, even though I have a small footprint, all of this infrastructure is still necessary for me to live in the way that I like to live. Fuel isn't the only infrastructure we depend on, though. We depend on road access, campgrounds, batteries, electrical cabling, etc. And just as our image of fish gathering at the beginning of the presentation, all of these resources are pulled from consistent areas in high concentration. This type of resource extraction is still part of the same modern system. We may be moving around, but we're still isolated from environmental feedback, and we're still dependent on mass resource extraction, just to a smaller scale. So, in conclusion, sustainability doesn't only require mobility. Sustainability is built on adaptive and relational systems that are far more complex than simply choosing between movement and sedentarianism or sedentariness. For myself, I know that many lessons that can be learned from tech can be applied in my own life. If sustainability is our goal, I believe tech can help foster a way forward. Uh, there's a lot of information that I really wanted to go over in this presentation, and my research paper, or not my reflection paper, was really long. It included a lot of research. There's too much of it to go into depth any further. However, I do encourage you to research tech systems. There's a lot of information kind of coming forth, especially in the realm of agriculture, and a lot of these models and systems are getting a lot of due respect. I think that we should have had for a very long time. Um, so yeah, if you can look into any of that, I encourage you to. And I hope you enjoyed my little presentation here.